Thank you all for coming today. I wasn't expecting a full room. Honestly, this is still probably more than at all of my research conferences combined that I've gone to. So thank you for coming to listen to me talk about things that I'm definitely a little more passionate about, teaching. So thank you so much for that. And so today we've got kind of two sections that we're going to dive into. But what we did this summer, if you had an opportunity to attend the KU Teaching Summit, we were able to present this to kind of start off the year to some different just colleagues across campus, things like that. And so it's been fun to dive into this topic of designing courses with students, not for them. And so I will say that as a teacher, I'm pretty active with it. And so I do have some kind of questions and stuff to kind of get the ball rolling. But just to kind of give you an idea of what today's session is going to look at, what we're diving into are students are not just wanting a degree, right? They're going to want to collaborate. They want creativity. They want this meaningful preparation for, especially in our degree, our program, they want to find the right job. And that's something they become much more intentional about. And it's been fun as a teacher to help them explore that. We're going to also dive into some gamifying learning strategies, how we've implemented some co-teaching, both with students as well as some alumni stakeholders, and then integrating storytelling, global perspectives, which will be part 2 of our conversation today, skill development, and additional real-world experiences. Our goal is for you to leave this with ideally something that you can take, whether it's for your own classes, with new faculty, just anything at all. We're hoping that you leave here with some kind of idea to transform your classroom, ideally to meet students where they're hoping to, go. So to kick things off, simple yes or no. Do you ask students what they want to learn, do, and achieve in the classes you teach? Do you ever ask them that? Yes or no? Yes? How many yeses? Yes. 1, 2, 3, 4. So. All right, no? No. Cool. No.
No for some classes.
No for some classes. Okay, cool.
Not always apply.
All right, so if you answered yes, when does this happen? All right, so in your program's intro class, is it something that you do kind of every class to kick things off? Do you do it at the start or end of the semester? So when does it happen, and then how? Do you ask them formally? Is it more just kind of informal, passing by like, hey, what do you hope to gain? Did we do this? Any kind of strategies? So anybody brave enough to humor me here for those that do ask?
Beginning.
Beginning of the semester or beginning of class?
Beginning of the semester through Qualtrics.
Through Qualtrics, okay, cool. Yes?
I do 3 times, beginning, during, and after.
Are you cool?
Yeah.
Shaw.
Yeah, that's big time. I love that, Winston. I'm not surprised.
Your introduction where they explain that as well, and then midway through I ask them the question.
Cool.
In a survey as well.
Do you learn? I mean, does that help you learn how to approach your semester? Do you feel like that's of value, or is it something easy just to do? You ever learn anything new?
No, it's the same every
Yeah.
I'd say in marketing it helps.
Yeah.
They know more about platforms and what they're into and what they're using than I do because I'm old. So it helps that way. So we're talking about like platforms. They're kind of teaching me what they use and how they use it,
Nice.
what they put on, what they don't put on, that type of thing.
Like that. Very cool. All right, so don't yell at me here, but those that said no, why not?
Well, I can say this much. So some of my classes are pretty complex.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think the students even know what they don't know, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I was kind of prepared for that one from extra science, so cool.
Because the internship, so
Mm-hmm.
I'm not actually teaching them, I'm like supervising.
Mm-hmm.
So that part I will not ask them what you want to learn.
Yeah.
For that purpose, they don't want to learn from work.
Right on.
That's the reason.
So this is kind of where we started this kind of overarching idea. And so something that when we were kind of looking through and reading, I read a lot of just kind of popular press stuff in higher ed, kind of looking to see what different research is being done on just practitioners, heavy into like what HR professionals are saying, industry people in some of our bigger sectors that for us, we're seeing, students come to us from a lot of different programs in sport management. So they might be business students, journalism, engineering, all across campus that are kind of trying to find their place in sport management. And so something that we have started to see a lot more of is this idea that they're looking for this kind of life design. Some of these things that when we're looking at their ability to communicate, just even workplace etiquette, like how do they handle situations and navigate that, and even just how they reflect on their own values. And so something that we've noticed is that students want to pursue this kind of holistic experience. And so rather than looking at our classes as like individual pieces, it's really like, in some sense, we're kind of salespeople to show them how they connect to one another, how, even if that's not their intended career path, how do those relate to their bigger goal career picture. I'm looking at even just some other surveys. 91% of employers reported that global mindset and those real-world problem solvings are essential. And so looking at that, that's something that we've looked pretty heavily into, especially in our like intro classes, our the special topics class I'm teaching this semester, things that we're working on much more problem solving skills and things where we're shifting it from reports and papers to actual like demonstrations of their skills that they have. And then finally, this need for this on-the-job learning and applied skills. As I was kind of going through this, thinking through each of our programs, we are heavily experiential based. That's something that we promote pretty like right from the get-go. I tell students all the time, if the only thing you do is go to class, that's great. But we want them out and about working. We want them, job shadowing, volunteering, part-time stuff. Like those are things that our students have been really receptive of, especially as we start to see more and more jobs kind of showing right out the gate that they're needing a year of experience. So that's been something that we've been, keeping an eye on and paying attention to not just deliver a degree, but give them those kind of potential roadblocks right when they need to go get a job. So I'm not going to go through this whole chart. You can kind of circle through here and kind of read through this, but I'm just going to talk broadly about kind of things that we've utilized. So early on, I remember applying for a job and them asking, how do you teach? What are your strategies? And I would always say, active learning, student engagement. And it was always, I remember thinking back on that, and it was very service level. I mean, think pair shares, partner up with somebody and, discuss, and then let's report back. Get in small groups and, pick each other apart, how you'd approach something. That was really kind of where a lot of us started with student engagement, was just that. But something that really this year I've worked a lot harder on in the classes that I'm teaching is this kind of empowering students as partners. Really diving into things that not only are they interested in, but they're smart. They've got a finger on the pulse of especially our industry. They're connected to what industry professionals are doing. They're also connected to our recent grads and seeing things that what were they missing. And so giving them kind of this sense of purpose and letting them have some responsibility in things that, so-and-so said, they didn't do this in this class. I want to make sure that I get that. And so that's been pretty fun. And so some of these things that when you're shifting down just from student engagement, when we're empowering them as partners, it'd be something just as essential as like a foundations of health ed course, where a student might work with the teacher to, even just kind of pick apart the rubric, little pieces, things that when I've used this kind of strategy, I might have a paper report that students are like, this could have easily been a presentation. I would honestly rather have just got up and talked about this than had to dive into a 2 to 3 page paper. And so I don't feel like you assessed me on my skill set in that proper form. And so going through and even just breaking down rubrics, co-leading different discussions, class discussions and things like that have been fun. With this, I've tried that from a kind of co-teaching side this semester in my special topics class, where I essentially checked out a book to each of the students in the class from my shelf. And I said, we talked about their career interests, and so some were going into scouting and recruiting, others are going into fundraising and development, event planning, coaching and analytics, and other ones kind of fleshing out just facility and events. And so we found a professional development book, and I told them, I said, this is something that you're essentially the teacher for this. I've read the books, I kind of have an idea myself, but we talk about how, what are the big overarching pieces from this book? What are the things that assume that the other students in this class never get a chance to read it? Teach it to us. And don't just teach it to us in a way that makes sense to your line of work in the sports industry, but how can it be related to others in this class. And so that's been really fun to kind of see them take ownership of different ideas and things, and show how not only am I able to understand how I can apply this, but I can also show somebody else, which to us really kind of demonstrates their ability to ideally transition from that entry-level employee into those leadership management roles, whether it's truly on their title or if it's just in their, I don't know, departments, teams, things like that. Co-creation, another one, has been really cool to kind of see. So anything from just creating learning resources, activities, shared understanding during our courses. When we were on study abroad this summer, I had several students that had been in my previous sport fundraising and sponsorship class, and they really dove deep into the different site visits we went to, and they said, hey, here in Europe, the entire sponsorship scheme is so different from what you teach in our sport fundraising sponsorship class. Everything's like very US focused. It's more, when you go to a sporting event, they're plastered everywhere. More revenue, more money, things like that. They go, you never really talk about the exclusivity piece of it, of what we'll see like at a Wimbledon, something like that, where it's not quantity, it's quality. It's how do we really bring those partners to life. And so I essentially worked with two of our students to kind of just like flush out that project and kind of pick their brains and say, if we flipped this into more of an international focus, how could we change this project? And it was kind of fun to see them have this, like, again, kind of teacher idea of, I can give back even though I've already taken this class. These are the things that I would think we could have done differently to further enhance students' experiences. And then last one with this participatory design, this is where we're bringing in our external stakeholders. This has probably been, like, I would say, the more stressful one for me, because this is where I'm really letting go of the reins. And so I should have passed this out before, but if you'll give me a favor and just kind of pass some of those out. This is a good example of one of our alumni, Dave Holtzman, this semester. Him and I have done some work together, and he had shown some interest in wanting to potentially kind of like not just introduce himself, talk about his career, what he's done in sports, which are all cool things. He had this kind of interest in wanting to teach something, a lesson, skills, things that he does in his day-to-day life, or even things that he doesn't really get all that much opportunity to do. And so we talked about how research, analytics, that wasn't something that we've dove deep into in our classes. And so we talked a lot of ongoing conversations, things about, what could we do that was focused on his line of work, things that were in his specialties. And he came to campus last week and taught this lesson to students, introduced, everything he does within his role that pertains to this opportunity. And then we'll go to Kaufman this coming Thursday, and our students you'll see on the last page what they're going to be doing. They'll be delivering their presentation to Dave and a couple other stakeholders to essentially solve this problem. And so this was something that I've personally have never handed one off to an alumni or industry professional and said, create this. Like, here, you have the freedom to do it. He asked for some parameters, kind of what were the expectations, what were goals we wanted to accomplish, and I gave him that direction. But ultimately, this was his idea. And as our outstanding alum this past year, it was fun to get to see him kind of give back to our program in a different way. And so I felt from a program side, that was a cool way to, not just ask an alum for financial support, but really to give back in a learning, knowledge way to help our students. And so that was something that we really enjoyed as well. And then I've talked a bit about some of these here, but just kind of give, when we set the foundation for it, I also talk a lot at the start of my classes to see kind of what needs fleshed out, what can we, revamp, what needs edited. In my special topics class this semester, I actually handed them the syllabus at the first day of class, and I said, this is a professional development class. Everything in here should not be busy work. It needs to be intentional to help you get the job, the right job, which is our big overarching goal for our program. And so we spent basically 2/3 of the first day of class going through and just ripping apart everything that I'd put together. And from the projects to the styles of what we were doing to the discussions to everything was, by the time we got to the end of it, we basically as a team had come up with this agreement that, all right, this is how we're going to proceed. It gave them, again, a little bit of ownership on it. And so that was also really cool. So again, that just emphasized more of that active learning environment, doing a little bit less papers and reports and much more in demonstrations and presentations. And we'll talk work samples here pretty quick. So I know I talked about Dave Holtzman, but for your programs that maybe you don't, maybe the students aren't your best partners, identifying the right individuals to bring back to campus are a great way to go. For us, we are blessed to have some real go-getters that are currently interning in sports. So for me, I'll invite them back to intro to sport management. So I think it's important to give our stakeholders a chance to give back to programs before they leave campus. And so I'll invite our cohorts from our 488, 499 classes, our pre and full internship, back, and I'll have them say, which classes did you enjoy the most? Did you get most out of? Why? Which ones, if you could do over again, which ones would you have done? And it's really interesting to see everything, and from that I'm pulling data from things where maybe they took a course too soon. They took it as a sophomore, we don't sequence our classes, and so they missed it because they weren't that focused on that course just yet. And so it's fascinating to invite our students back and bring them into those discussions on how we're essentially teaching, things to keep an eye on. So if I'm teaching an upper level class that I've got more sophomores in than I really was hoping for, I kind of know what to look for. And that flows back into our student-centered learning outcomes, things that we're trying to keep in mind that essentially for us are very career-focused. And so. And so if you are still kind of thinking about things like how can we kind of flip the script, how can I maybe let go of the reins and invite them in, it doesn't have to be a total revamp of your course at all. It can be small things. Like I said, going through and co-authoring the rubric, pretty easy, picking their brains. Story swaps, giving each one that, empowering them to, take point on a discussion topic. If you assign chapter readings, things like that, have each be assigned that, and they know going into the next week that that's my turn to be the narrator for this. Everything from brainstorming days, like we'll have, I've got like career development coming on Thursday, but I've been trying to get our visual design department here on campus over to talk about how do we bring data to life in our presentations. We went down to Phoenix and watched our students in a case study competition, and it pained me to look at their slide deck and see 40% of survey respondents said this in just a sentence. And I was like, that was a perfect opportunity to bring that to life in a graph. And that's something that I hadn't really taught them. And so little things like that, I'm thinking, that's a great opportunity to tap into some of our other departments on campus, do some interdisciplinary design. It's a kind of a 15-minute TED Talk, if you will. And so we're working on trying to do more of that, which, again, kind of aligns with what Center for Teaching Excellence is promoting up the hill with their interdisciplinary learning communities and things like that. So when it comes to gamifying it, I don't really just dream up the stuff. A lot of this I'll go like books like, this is a good one. So game storming gives me a lot of ideas on different ways to structure activities. Everything if I need 5 minutes where I don't want to just cancel class early, they've got opportunities for like a 5-minute lesson. If I need a full class period that I'm trying to flip it and not just present for a day, I really want to do some hands-on learning, they've got ideas to do that. And so those are other ways that I've found a lot of success in doing more active learning stuff. So, and then, the last one I guess I can hit on is the portfolios. We're big on the receipt mindset with our students. I tell them all the time, I want you to have a proof of purchase, not just an A showing what you've done. So focusing on work samples, things like that, especially in our very hands-on classes like sport communication. So they better leave with a press release. They better leave with those artifacts that they could use as work samples when they're applying for jobs. And so those are things that I'm excited for us to continue to explore as well. All right, and so my last question to kind of wrap things up, I was going to give you like 5 minutes, humor me here. I was hoping we'd have a lot more, but everybody's kind of sitting within your kind of departments, and so this actually could weirdly kind of work. But if you're sitting next to a colleague in your department, maybe pick one that maybe fits more. So maybe you can actually like flush out an assignment. If you're sitting next to somebody that you don't work with in a different department, maybe it's more broad. So just number one, like how could students help define what success looks like in your class, and just have kind of a conversation about what that looks like. And so that's all I got. So I was going to give you like 5 minutes to flesh this out and see and circle back. Cool? All right, let's go ahead. I'll bring it home here. So which one did you pick? Do you have any interesting discussions? Any findings? Anything that you could try in your programs, classes?
Oh, the last thing I was talking about was just, I always do midterm surveys and have them work in groups to come up with ideas, like what's working well for them and what's not, what we could change. So I always make sure I come up with, out of what they're telling me, maybe 3 things that we're going to implement going forward the last half of the semester. And I think they generally appreciate seeing that I'm listening to them and actually doing it.
Cool.
Usually it's small things like, we want 5 more minutes on the online quizzes.
Mm-hmm.
Or whatever.
Have you had any big requests that you've noticed, like, oh wow,
There's
like?
big requests, but there are more things that I just tell them, it's like, we do have a syllabus, I can't just change what the assignments are,
Mm-hmm.
things like that, right? So, but I do listen to it for next time.
Yeah.
And I find that a lot more useful than the end of the year surveys,
Mhm.
which you don't really know what to do with.
Yeah. Yeah. I've noticed that with my more packed courses where I've kind of just fleshed out every week where there's something to do. I've actually tried to scale that back now to where I give myself that flexibility, because certain classes I've had multiple projects honestly assigned where they're kind of, in a way, in my mind, I'm teaching them like time management, prioritization, things like that. But ultimately they're just drowning. They're like, I'm gonna do this at the last minute. I like that your idea, I understand why it's here, it's just not working. And so I've had to, kind of circle back and realize if that's not working, I got to be able to cut things and stuff. And so understand what you're saying. So anything cool?
No, not anything cool. I just want to the question number 4. Just want to share with you guys what I say the 3 ways students can mind provide ongoing feedback. What I do is I check attendance.
Mm-hmm.
So that on the attendance, the survey, they need to give me the one question is, what suggestions for this class? How do you feel about this class so far? Give me one adjective to describe how you're feeling today for this class. And then that's the first one. So I can get the collect data from them to see my score that day. Mm-hmm. And the second way I do is I will have the panel do every class. I call it like a talk to me session after class. So I pick 5 students randomly by their name. They share with me what they put into that survey. Sometimes they didn't say anything. Sometimes they say, oh, it's great. Mm-hmm. So, but I just push them, at least give you a feedback. How do you feel about this class? Discuss and give it to me. And I do collect some great ideas. They just point out something I miss. Mm-hmm. I do it so wrong. And then I change it. So in the class, I will let it know, this is the change I will make this week, mm-hmm. because of one student give me that feedback. So they feel accountable, they feel empowered, they got getting involved in this class, the involvement.
I like that.
One of the students helped me and said, in the beginning, I feel like you're wasting my time.
Mm-hmm.
But now I feel like everything makes sense now.
Like
I
that.
feel so comfortable for that.
Very cool.
Yeah, that's one thing I want to share with question number 4.
Thanks for sharing. All right. Well, I'll turn it over. So we got second colleague Kate here from Study Abroad and Global Engagement. A big part of our program also has been kind of this desire for our students to enhance that global mindset, recognize that there's a lot of things out in the world that they can do in sports that aren't just here in the States. And so we've really enjoyed kind of this new partnership, some opportunities opening up for students abroad and getting to explore that. And so hopefully here in part 2 of today, kind of dive into that a little bit more. So,
okay.
All right, Kate.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. As Austin said, my name is Kate Gerken, and I'm a program manager in Study Abroad and Global Engagement. I've been with SAGE for over 10 years now, so quite a long while. And currently, my responsibilities include overseeing some of our discipline-specific programs in business and architecture and criminal justice. But then I also work with our Mapping Study Abroad to Major initiative, which involves working with different academic units across KU to find programs that are a good fit for their majors and promote those to their students. So I'll talk more about that towards the end of this. But I'm here today. Obviously, Austin has been talking about strategies that he has used to impact student success for sport management majors. And study abroad, as he mentioned, is of course one of those kind of tactics that he offers, which has had a positive impact. Not only that, but the AACU has designated diversity and global learning as a high impact practice, or HIP, based on evidence of the significant educational benefits for students that participate in them. And then last but not least, we also happen to work at an institution that has designated internationalization as one of its the foundational pillars of its strategic plan. So this means we want international engagement to be really woven into all aspects of our offerings and not just tacked on. So for all of these reasons, we thought it was important to touch on study abroad today. So first off, just a little bit about what our office is and what we do. We develop and administer high-quality credit-bearing programs. These aren't just limited to study abroad or kind of the traditional types of programs that you think about, but also include research abroad, service learning, and internships abroad. And along with that, we then provide a comprehensive range of support services to outbound KU students. And then we also work with incoming exchange students. KU has reciprocal exchange agreements with about 50 different universities around the world that we're both sending students to and receiving students from. And then we also administer a couple of programs where students can gain global experience right here on campus. Those include the Global Awareness Program, which is a free certificate program that any student can participate in. And they earn the certificate through a combination of globally focused courses, language study, study abroad, or like co-curricular activities with a global focus. They can kind of pick and choose what they want to participate in. And so that's an excellent option. And then we also have the Global Scholars Program, which is a selective academic program designed for high-achieving, globally minded undergraduate students. And so that's a neat program. A cohort is selected during their sophomore year. They take a interdisciplinary, globally focused seminar together as a cohort, and then they each have a research project, and they work with a faculty mentor on that research project throughout their remaining time at KU, and then present on it during their senior year. So those all fall under our umbrella. We also like to tout the fact that study abroad is a long-standing tradition here at KU. We sent our very first students abroad back in 1949. And today, about 1,300 students study abroad on an annual basis. 1 in 4 undergraduate students studies abroad prior to graduation, and 100% of majors are eligible to study abroad. And that's possible because we have 165 programs in every location you can think of, and many of those are taught in English. So we work really hard to have kind of a breadth of programs ranging in location and duration and cost so that we really can ensure that there are options for everyone. There are lots of benefits of study abroad, but we kind of divide them into 3 main categories: academic, professional, and personal. From an academic standpoint, and now especially with Core 34, any study abroad program can be used to satisfy the global culture goal of the KU Core. So if a student's studying abroad and they haven't already satisfied that, it's a great way to do so. They just have to co-enroll in UNIB 342, which is an online asynchronous course taught via Canvas that ensures they're meeting the learning objectives of that core goal. But beyond that, and this will depend on the type of program that they're participating in, but it can be a really great opportunity to take courses in subjects that we don't have on offer here at KU, but that relate to their major. And we find that it often leads to increased academic motivation. So it kind of tends to light a fire under students. They go abroad, they have this exciting experience, and it really helps to invigorate their remaining time at KU. From a professional standpoint, we find that employers really value international experience because they know that it leads to key transferable skills or soft skills, power skills, kind of all of those terms that I use interchangeably, which translate to workplace success. And I love to tell students, you haven't truly studied abroad until you find yourself on the wrong train, headed in the wrong direction without your phone, which sounds terrible, very stressful and scary, but it's exactly those types of experiences that stick with them, where they learn that they can communicate cross-culturally, that they can adapt and think critically and solve problems and use throughout their career, regardless of the particular position that they're in or the level or the company that they're working for. And then on a personal level, these students are often traveling without their families and their friends for the first time, which enables them to step outside of their comfort zone. And we all know as adults that that's where the greatest level of growth tends to occur. Also, by coping with the challenges of navigating daily life in a new country and culture, they develop a greater sense of independence, self-confidence, as well as cultural awareness and open-mindedness. And they also tend to make great friends and expand their social networks in the process. So the great news is research supports these findings. This slide highlights a very well-known study, an important study to the field, the CASI study, which stands for Contextualizing and Analyzing Student Success in International Education. It's kind of a mouthful, but this was a large-scale research project that examined the impact of higher ed experiences on student outcomes of students in the US. And KU did participate in this study, and they used quantitative data from over 150,000 students across multiple institutions. And they compared students who did study abroad with those who did not. And the key findings were that students who studied abroad were more likely to graduate, and they did so in a shorter time frame compared to those who didn't. And then the positive effects were even stronger from students from traditionally underrepresented groups. So first-gen college students, Pell Grant recipients, and students of color. And then additionally, study abroad participation was also linked to higher GPAs and a greater likelihood of pursuing graduate education. So all really good things for academic departments, for institutions, for the students themselves, and their communities. Additionally, and just as important, there's a multitude of independent research which illustrates the international experience. The international experience provides students with the competencies needed to thrive in the workforce. And these are just a few studies that were posted on the NAFSA website, which is our kind of professional organization. So things like, the Future of Jobs report from 2023 said that the top 3 skills for workers during that year were analytical thinking, creative thinking, and self-efficacy, which included resilience, flexibility, and agility. So all things that we know, come through study abroad. Another one was really talking about students who study abroad multiple times, but what I liked about it is that it found that even short-term study abroad experiences have an impact on employability outcomes. And here at KU, short-term programs are very popular. That's what the majority of our students are participating in currently. And then some other things. The third one, 44% of respondents said they were much more likely to hire a candidate with global learning experience that included exposure to diverse experiences and perspectives and application of learning to their major and their own life. And then finally, the last one, which I think is interesting given just the shrinking size of language majors in terms of students and also departments. But the study found that 90% of US employers surveyed reported a reliance on US-based employees with language skills beyond English. There we go. So what does this mean? Let's look at the options that are available here at KU in terms of how you can internationalize your degree programs. In terms of study abroad programming, there's a number of different program options. And usually departments find that a combination of them is going to be a good fit for their students. But first, we have faculty-led programs. And as the name implies, these are where a KU faculty member is traveling with a group of students. They tend to take place during our breaks, so winter break, spring break, and summer. And the entire experience is really the classroom on those programs, because they're doing company visits and hearing guest lectures and participating in community engagement projects and visiting sites of cultural and historical significance. So those are very popular. And the other nice thing about them is because they're over the breaks, they can really fit in, at any point for a student during their college career. Austin, do you want to talk just briefly about the London and Dublin program and just kind of maybe some of the activities that you included in that?
Yeah, so with it being a global sport management class, we didn't focus on a specific topic. We kept it broad, which was representative of the students that signed up for it, which was nice. And so kind of depending on what site we went to, we got to see from more facility and event lens with Wembley, which Wembley's going to host KU, Arizona State. And so getting to see more from just how those kind of events go on there. Charlton FC gave us more, more even just fan engagement and sponsorship insights. And so for our students that are going into partnerships, stuff like that. So we were kind of intentional about trying to have a number of locations that weren't going to just be cookie cutter and deliver the same thing just through a different sport / site. So that was something that was really fun for our London Dublin trip. There are some opportunities if we did want to specialize, tie it to a specific content, like a sport marketing focus. Those are also things that we've kind of discussed, whether or not to go more specialized with it or keep kind of the broader kind of global impact of what sports. So, but and then we'll do London and Scotland with another global focus this summer. So,
awesome. That's a great example. Global internships are something that we find work for a wide range of majors. These are typically 8-week summer programs, and we work with study abroad program providers on them. And so they have staff that are on site in each location, and they're finding a customized internship for students based on their major, their career goals, and also their experience level. So whether they've had experience before or not, or if this is their first kind of foray into experience. And those are available in more than 30 different countries around the world. And we also group under that, we have a hospital shadowing in Europe program, which has been quite popular with all of our pre-health majors. So a lot of biology, but also we do get some exercise science participants in that program. And that's they can choose from 4 or 6 weeks. They're placed into a hospital. They get to rotate through a different unit of the hospital each week. And it's just observation based. So they're just kind of watching and learning through their observations, the interactions of patients with doctors and things like that. So, and on those programs, students are earning KU internship credit. They're usually taking an accompanying internship course. On the 8-week programs, so not hospital shadowing, those are offered through the program provider, and they really help the student to be intentional about the experience, set goals, kind of document what they're doing in the internship, and then reflect on how they're benefiting and growing through that experience so that down the road they can really successfully articulate that to prospective employers.
Is that the Atlantis?
It is, yep.
Is there another one too?
Nope, so Atlantis is who we partner with for hospital shadowing specifically. But our other 8-week programs are open to all majors, so they're less health focused, but they would work for any major, sport management, community health, exercise science, because the internship will be tailored to their major and to what they're looking to do long term. And the credit works the same on all of them. With hospital shadowing, they're enrolled directly in credit through KU, but with the other programs, the credit is offered through the program provider's school of record, and then it transfers back to KU. And so different departments have approved it to come in as departmental internship credit. So
does biology have their own internship credit system?
They do, yep.
We catch several HSES students
that
sign up for our clinical field experience.
Yes, yep.
But, so
biology.
Others in Atlantis that we're not catching.
Yes. It's a lot of, most students are enrolling in either Biology 490, which is biology's internship course, or there's also a lot of honors students in that particular program, and there's honors internship credit as well. So
who are we catching?
I think it's exercise science, because
most of these are not exercise science students, it seems like
that enroll in that class? Or
For the summer hospital shadowing.
yeah.
It seemed like students in other majors.
Yeah, I mean, there's always a handful, I would say, of exercise science students that are enrolling, but it's an option for all of them. And actually, we're getting ready. We are adding a new health internships in Vietnam program this summer, which will be shadowing in Vietnam as opposed to Europe. And we've got an amazing scholarship opportunity too. So I may reach out to all of you in the next couple of days because we're just getting ready to do a push on summer global internships and then specifically that scholarship opportunity and kind of highlighting the new health. With some departments, we'll want to highlight the new health opportunity in Vietnam specifically. So yeah, we have a grant through the Freeman Foundation, which is specifically for internships in East and Southeast Asia. And it ranges from $3,000 up to $6,000. And then we are we're trying to encourage Pell Grant recipients specifically to participate because they'll be prioritized and awarded at the top of the range. So they're likely to get, $6,000 if they do an 8-week program. And then they can also apply for additional funding through our office. That would be $2,000 for an 8-week program, and then they have their Pell Grant. So, I mean, there's really strong opportunity for a fully funded or close to fully funded program especially for Pell students who choose to participate. But even for non-Pell, the Freeman is open to all students. It's just we are trying to prioritize high need students with that. So
how is this advertised? Because I'm not sure, frankly, our HSES students kind of even know about it.
Yeah, it is advertised. We have global internship program pages on our website. We do have a section of our website too that's called Study Abroad in Your Major, and there's a program page for each major. So there is one under School of Ed for exercise science, and that lists recommended programs. Global internships is one of the short-term options, and I believe hospital shadowing is on there as well. If they go into our info center, those are definitely programs that the peer advisors will talk with them about. Those internships tend to work best for some majors that kind of have more of a lockstep curriculum. So yeah, we can do more. We'd be happy to. Yeah.
I know a few years ago.
Yeah.
Seemed like there was a couple students that were in the UK or Ireland or something, and they were not pre-med. They were not in a hospital, but they were kind of like working in a physiotherapy clinic, or I think of someone with like a drug rehab facility or something like that. But I haven't seen those lately. Or is that still a thing?
Yeah, and I mean it is important that they're flexible. I mean the provider will find something that relates, but it's going to depend on the specific location that they're going to and what the needs of what they're able to secure. But it could be more research based. I know there's a lot of health startup types of companies that have a variety of needs in terms of interns. Some, what's hard to find is more of the clinical shadowing experiences, and that's what we really like about this Vietnam program is because we know students are looking for kind of shadowing hours, or it seems like they are. So that's an option. But that's a specific program where it is more shadowing based. Most of these are going to be more project based internships where they're working for an English speaking supervisor and then completing that companion course to be able to help them be intentional about it. So yeah. Summer language institutes, those are great for students who are already studying a foreign language or who want to study a foreign language. There's some programs where they can earn almost an entire minor in the summer. Very immersive. They live in a homestay so that they're really speaking that language from the moment they get up until they go to bed at night. And then semester and academic year programs, a lot of students participate in these through our exchange partners. So they're enrolling directly at one of our partner institutions and are taking classes alongside degree-seeking students there. They're also able to take advantage of all of the extracurriculars, intramural sports and clubs and student activities and things like that. And then a lot of semester participants too will opt to go on a program through a study abroad program provider, which is a little bit a little bit different. They just have more of a kind of a, they have an on-site staff there that provides support throughout the program, and the on-site staff, usually there's a learning center through the program provider that students take classes at. So they're often doing that, but then the program provider also usually has partnerships with local institutions. So usually they can take a combination of center courses and then courses through their partner institutions. So that's kind of like what we offer. But then beyond that, KU is really trying to stress and encourage COIL, or Collaborative Online International Learning. They have plans to hire a COIL program coordinator at some point, which will work with faculty that want to incorporate projects with partners at international institutions. So students might have group discussions or work on a marketing project or do a variety of activities that allows them to engage with one another and learn from each other. And then the other thing, first year seminars, that's another activity that's been designated as a high impact activity. And here at KU, all of our first year seminars they satisfy either the US culture goal or the global culture goal. So I think that's neat. They're getting that experience, the small class size, getting to know their faculty member really well, engaged in those active learning activities, but also learning about either US culture or global culture. And there's even a faculty member in the School of Music that teaches a first year seminar that has also regularly led a winter break program to Vienna, focused on music and culture. And so he's trying to encourage participants in that first year seminar to then also study abroad with him over the winter break. Okay, let's see. 5 minutes, okay. This is actually the last slide, so that's perfect. So I just wanted to touch on our Mapping Study Abroad to Major initiative. So this, again, is where Study Abroad works with academic units across campus to identify programs that are a good fit for your majors and really create pathways for students to study abroad. We want it to be really simple and straightforward so that students who want to do so can easily find programs that have been deemed a good fit for their major. And so this, if basically it kind of starts with an exploratory meeting between me and individuals in the department that have knowledge of the curriculum and also what students are going on to do when they graduate and the types of experiences that they feel would really help their students be prepared for their professional lives post-graduation. So we have that discussion just to kind of learn more and also to understand if there's roadblocks, if there's certain things, certain classes that have to be taken here on campus, or what types of barriers are there that are preventing students from doing it. Then I go back, research, look at what we have available through our partner institutions, what's available through program providers, what's on offer at KU via faculty-led programs, and then kind of come up with a proposed list of programs that seem like they're a good fit based on the course offerings. The department then vets those courses and reviews them to determine how each one transfers back to KU, which then can be helpful, particularly if it's a semester program, in understanding, okay, what semester would it make sense for students to participate in that program? Once we kind of agree on a list, then we create marketing materials and do outreach through the department to help educate students about the opportunities that are available to them. And sorry, make sure I'm not missing anything here. So, it's a really great way. I think the benefits of going through the curriculum mapping process is it allows for strategic selection of programs. It provides you the ability to influence where students are going and the classes that they're taking there. It also allows for cohesive and consistent messaging between your departments and our office. And it really just helps to streamline the process for students and make it simplifies it, makes it simpler and more straightforward. And it also often leads to great conversations that lead to program development, things like faculty-led programs that are offered during the break periods. But I do also want to say, you do not have to have a faculty-led program. We love them and we're happy to work with you on them, but there are lots of options out there. So even if it's if it's a case where you're interested but don't have the capacity right now, like it's still really worthwhile to kind of brainstorm other program opportunities, get those out there, and then we're happy to work with you whenever, if and when you want to offer a faculty-led program.
How many students typically have to sign up for something to make?
So, good question. I think 8 probably would be our minimum. For each program we construct a budget, and we'll have a minimum number. And but I think usually 8 would be about the lowest we would go. And I'd say most programs are in that like 8 to 15 type of range. Austin, how many did you have
We
left?
had 10.
10.
Our New Zealand one had, I think we ended up with 9, and we didn't go. We're not doing the New Zealand one.
Yeah.
Grad or undergrad?
They've both been open to both. Our summer one, we had 1 grad student sign up, and we had no grad applications for New Zealand. So we'll try to be more intentional on that.
Yeah, and
hopefully
there's
the
so
summer
many
one.
things that factor into, Australia, New Zealand. They're often expensive just because the plane ticket alone, and they're going for a short period of time. But if you have 2 faculty, faculty costs are incorporated into that program fee that students are paying. So, it's interesting. I'm working with a professor in criminal justice right now, though. She actually has contacts at a university called Murdoch in Perth, Australia, which is on the western coast. And so the university, KU has signed an MOU with them, and they are arranging a whole kind of plethora of activities. They've got really inexpensive housing that our students are going to be able to stay at, and so the cost of that's going to be actually pretty affordable, and it's a 3-week summer program. But that's kind of a unique situation. We don't always have there isn't always a foreign institution that's able to step in and do all of that for such a low cost. But yeah, I think, and I'm sure you guys will try again with New Zealand at some. I know that program is run in the past. So yeah.
Do we still have an office at UCR?
We do. University of Costa Rica, yes. Yeah, so that's a great option. I mean, we have staff there that can definitely, they help. We have a number of faculty.
Level, how many of our students go down to UCR in a given year?
That is a good question that I don't know the answer to off the top of my head. I mean, we have students that go on exchange and stay for a full semester, but then we also have several winter break programs. Like there's an Masters of Accounting one, there's an honors travel writing one, and so maybe like 20 between the 2 programs.
We
and
sent a group down pre-COVID
Mm-hmm.
in exercise science, but
yeah.
The way it was set up was like we piggyback off of, I want to say social welfare had like an English language thing or something.
Yep.
So they're supposed to do that halftime and then work in a lab.
Yeah.
But there wasn't any research really going on in the lab, so that just sort of fizzled out, and then we didn't do it after that. I think mainly because the research side.
Yeah, wasn't working.
Yeah, but it looked good on paper.
Yeah, well, I mean, and a faculty-led program there for the department could make a lot of sense because we do have staff there that really know the city and the area, and could help, I think, find contacts and things.
They were typically like staying with families or something.
Yes.
Like that, right?
Yep. That is a normal part of our UCR programs, just because they already work with host families.
It was affordable.
Very affordable. Great. Well, any other questions we can answer?
Thank you all for joining us.
Yeah, thank you so much.